Howdy, Sergey Drachev here, Sergey Drachev Photo. And today I want to do a quick review of this Panasonic W580 camcorder. Just got it, used it a few times, and so got something to say about this one. It's a pretty simple camcorder. First of all, who is it for? If you're planning to shoot a feature film and apply for some big, participating in a big contest, probably this will not cut it. Like the video quality is actually pretty decent, but it has no support for external mic. And more expensive Panasonic models, specifically the older 750 and 770, they have a bigger sensor, so they're better suited for shooting in low light, and also they have a external mic connection. They have a hot shoe in here, and then you just plug in the mic in here. It's a bit awkward. Basically, each time you shut the camera down, you have to disconnect that cable. You cannot leave it, because otherwise the camera will not close, and you cannot keep it like this all the time, right? I remember reading about this. One guy was saying, it's because all these connectors are, they're really flimsy. So if you do this all the time, you're gonna, sooner or later, you're gonna stop working. Like on a camera, right, on a DSLR, you can leave it in all the time because it's unusual on the side, and some people even remove the cover on the DSLR from the port, and it just stays in there, right? And I do have an external mic. I just forgot to check this before I bought it. But the main feature, and why I got this camcorder, is the amazing zoom. Like 90, that's just digital, so it degrades the quality, but the optical zoom is 50 times. Now the more expensive 750 and 770 models, they do have a slightly better quality, especially in low light of the video, but the optical zoom is only 20 times. I had that one and I got rid of it because sometimes you want to zoom. So this is a great cam for simple video production, for YouTube. That's what I got it for, and of course for shooting wildlife and stuff like that, because it does have autofocus. Now when you open the box, like the manual, it comes with a basic manual, and there's pictures of two cameras, and as you can see over here, it says 380 and 580. And now I know what the difference is. Basically 380, it's the same cam, looks exactly like that. It's about $70 cheaper US, but the 580 has three things at least. Don't quote me, I may be wrong, because I'm still I don't have 380, right? From what I read, so it has 580. This one has three things that 380 does not have. First of all, it has this little twin camera, which is real handy for selfies, so it stays like this, and then you can open it and you can change the position of that little square, right? And you can also change what it sees. Like if I'm doing it like this, I can see myself, right? So like when I'm narrating something, when I'm talking, and then let's say if I'm recording some kind of a scene where there's a guy talking and there's people listening, I can just turn it sideways so I can record the guy talking, and then I record the reaction in the crowd, for example. But with the audio being it has the two mics in here, but you can, in one mode, you can switch. You have to be in manual mode. It does have a manual mode. You can change the mode of the mic to narrator's mode, and then it'll try to block the wind and stuff like that. But I went to the pond to shoot some herons with this, and I was talking like this, using these mics over here. It was pretty clear, even though it was outside, right? Because it does have a wind you know, kind of like kills the wind, right, the noise, because I'm shooting mostly in intelligent auto mode. I don't want to deal with you know, manual. But in intelligent auto, the wind thing is on automatically. And so thing number one, that's the difference, this camera. And to switch it off, you just turn it back inside and it disappears. Now, difference number two is the zoom. Actually, on 380, the zoom is bigger. The zoom is 62 times optical, whereas with this one it's 50 times optical. So actually 380 is better if all you need is optical zoom and you don't care about this little camera in here, which is of course lower quality. But the third difference, which I thought was interesting, and actually I want to try it out today, is that 580 has HDR movie mode. You can, you know about probably HDR stills, like photography, and this one allows you to combine two footages into one for better contrast and stuff like that. And so HDR movie, twin camera, and smaller zoom. That's what you get with this. But 50 times, you know, that's still pretty decent. And so the manual that comes with it is basic, like I mentioned, but then inside the camera there's instructions here where to find the bigger manual, which is like 230 or 40 pages in PDF. Funny enough, you have to go to the camera's settings menu inside the camera, and there's tiny letters give you the address, the web address where you can go and download that manual. It's kind of like no security, it's open, but you need to know that specific website. And you know, it took me a while to write down all those tiny characters, and I made a mistake in one character, and of course I went to the wrong site not found. But anyway, finally I managed it, and it's a pretty, you know, very detailed manual. But I just wanted to go briefly over specs before we go out. And I'm shooting in 1080p 60 frames a second on the GoPro that I'm using now, and I'm gonna use MP4, the highest setting in 1080p, also 60 frames per second. And this thing shoots in 50 Mbps, and that's why I'm saying that the quality is actually excellent. But the sensor, the size of sensor is only 1/5/8 of an inch, so 1/5.8 versus that better camcorder I mentioned before, 750, 770. They have 1/2.3 or something, which is basically 2 times bigger than this. But you know, it's still more than the cell phone, right? Like my smartphone shoots 4K, the quality is amazing. This is better than the smartphone, it's bigger, and it has a zoom. But the most important thing I think to look at is not the size of the sensor, but what bit rates and what quality the camera supports. And basically this one, you can shoot either in AVCHD or MP4. Now AVCHD, it's 1080p and 60 frames per second progressive, but the maximum Mbps is 28. And then it can be, another mode is 24, 17, 13 and 5. So you can choose any of those 5. Now things are more interesting with MP4. You can shoot at 1080p 60 frames a second progressive at 50 Mbps, and that's what I'm gonna try. I mean, that's amazing, you know, for such a small sensor. Of course it needs good light, but still 50 Mbps, you know, I don't even need that for YouTube, because the recommended settings for bit rates on YouTube is 8 Mbps for 1080p and 5 Mbps for 720p, you know. So in MP4 you can do 780 at 60 frames per second, 50 Mbps, and then 28 and 9. So MP4 gives you 3 settings, 50, 28 and 9. So 28 and, no, actually wait a second. No, I'm sorry, my bad. 1080p at 50 Mbps, and then there's 1080p at 28, which is 30 frames per second, and then there's 720p at 9 Mbps. So yeah, so 1080 you can do either 50 Mbps or 28, and that's 60 and 30 frames a second respectively, or 720 is only available at 9 Mbps, so which is still more than enough for YouTube, you know. And HDR movie, why I'm recording in 1080p 60, because I mean, why I cannot do HDR together in this video is because once you switch to HDR on this cam, it automatically goes to MP4 1080p 28 Mbps, which is 30 frames a second. So I know it'll be difficult to combine them, and you will not see, you know, the benefits. So I'm gonna do a separate video in HDR just to show, just to see myself. I'm curious if it's a difference, if there's a difference. Now the lenses, so 50 times optical zoom, the actual focal length is 2.06 millimeters to 103 millimeters, which is a 35 millimeter equivalent. Motion picture, it says 28 millimeters to 1740, which is 28 times 50. Somehow it seems a bit too much. I think probably they're counting the digital zoom. And the aperture is f1.8 to f4.2, which is pretty decent. And minimum focus distance is 2 centimeters, you know, so very nice. And yeah, it has image stabilization, active and regular, and it has it's very light. It only weighs half a pound, 0.582 pounds, or 264 grams. That's without the battery. Okay, so with the battery it's a bit or should we, so 309 grams with the battery, or 0.681 pounds. Okay, and sub camera is 2 megapixels, 35 millimeters for focal distance, and it's 1/5 of an inch versus 5.8 on the main camera. And the microphone is stereo, and it does have the tripod connector, which makes it, you know, which is very important. I use it with this monopod, and works very well. I just, you know, for video I think it's a good idea to use the monopod to improve the stability of the image. Yeah, and that's how I was when I went to the pond. I was holding it like this in my hand, you know, very easy because it's so light. So there you have it. And of course I didn't mention Wi-Fi. It does have Wi-Fi, just that I never use it. You know, honestly, I don't understand the benefit. But also you can get a additional battery. Like, this is the standard battery. For some reason it's colored slightly differently. Like, the actual camera is black, the battery is gray. And you can get an optional bigger battery, which kind of like doubles your recording time. So pretty much this is just like hour and somewhere between an hour and 2 hours, depending what mode you're using. And today we have it's a very windy day, so I might need to kill the audio on this when I'm recording outside. But the sky is beautiful, you know. The sky, it's clouds and there's a sun. And time now is like, the light is very strong. It's only 10 minutes to 4. I'm in Saint-Liboire, Quebec, Canada. So let's go do the testing. That's the maximum optical zoom, 50 times. Now, recording yourself is very easy. If you want to do like a selfie, so the camera is on my monopod, and in this position the audio usually is the best because the mics are right under the lens, and I kind of hide it here near this fence because the wind is coming from that direction. And even in this mode I can still use the picture-in-picture. And I just discovered that you can actually do a little bit of tilting, you know. So there you go. Very you know, useful cam. And over here we have it's auto route 20. Like I mentioned, the sky today is unbelievable. It looks pretty good on the screen. And the highway goes over there. Let's see how far we can zoom in. I'm only using optical zoom. I disabled the intelligent one because that one just Okay, so this is maximum 50 times. Well, I hope this video will be helpful to somebody who's considering buying an inexpensive and versatile camcorder. From Saint-Liboire, Quebec, I'm Sergey Drachev. Thanks for watching.